Hello, everyone. So please turn your attention to the big screen. Refik is going to join us on the big screen.
Good morning.
Good morning, Refik. You have a room of 500 plus MIT alums, a community of engineers, entrepreneurs, and researchers.
So great to meet you, everyone. Sorry for I'm not there, but because of building an AI museum, the world's first AI museum, I just want to say hi and so happy to be connected with you all.
So, Refik, I think your bio needs no introduction. You being an
Thank you.
amazing leading media artist at the intersection of machine learning, art, and architecture. Maybe you can lead us through your creative process from data collection to model training to the moment the piece come alive in a public space.
Yes, first of all, again, so great to be again at the MIT community. I think it's my sixth time connecting with a beautiful community in some way of AI-related wonderful topics. I started my journey by coining the term data painting 2008. It was almost now 17 years I've been programming machines to make art through data. But of course, 10 years ago, 2016, when I received my artist residency at the Google AMI program, me and my team was no idea what is happening. I mean, 10 years for any, I think, research in the world, but specifically with AI is an incredible transformation. My early work was focused on lower dimension reduction algorithms, understanding embedding techniques, and looking at multi-million image archives, sound, and text. And later on, I was super inspired by the idea of a machine hallucination because just generally, I think the artists asked the question, what is beyond reality? And this question not just only come with a perfectly working AI system, but in fact, the reconstructing like the model, intentionally collapsing models. I mean, all type of like experiments you can imagine that makes the art. So me and my team, we trained more than 400 generative AI models last 10 years. We worked with more than 5 billion images. It's an incredibly exciting journey, and we still don't know what is next, but in a good way. Thanks to Jensen Huang and NVIDIA team, 2016, we connected and did many artworks together over the years. Thanks to his support, we have been surrounded by wonderful compute resources. But they don't come with just like a lazy, here's your GPU concept. In fact, each project comes with most likely another challenge project. For example, in Gamescom, when the RTX Tensor Core were just arriving, we have to find a way to compute super complex way of reflection in real time with generative AI. Or last year at GTC, we have been able to create the large language model. It's an incredibly exciting collaborations that allows me and my team to push forward.
So, how do you decide what data sets to work with? You often describe that you find data as living materials that remembers, breathes, and even dreams. So, what material, what data you find are alive and beautiful?
So I think again, data for me is not just numbers. Data is a form of memory, and I believe this memory can take any shape, any color, any form. And as soon as we detach Newtonian constraints of life and suddenly think about data as a living entity, I think a whole new world starts to appear. And I know I'd said this for more than 10 years, and projection mapping buildings and understanding immersive environments, it doesn't get like easier or just done before moment, because each data is so unique. For example, last year, actually 2 years ago, we decided to dedicate our research to nature. So we collect almost 500 million images across the world with ethical conversations. We recorded from data 16 rainforests, lidar scannings, ambient sound recordings. By the way, that will be open source when our AI museum is open. So we work so different, and also scent molecules, by the way. I am in love with scent molecules. That's 4 years now. I think we are the very first experimented with generative AI, both in sound, image, text, and scent together. So there's so much inspiring experiments have been done in the studio.
That's wonderful. And how do you think about the ethics and privacies as we're turning human and even biological data into art?
I think it's a fundamental question of humanity. First of all, AI is a mirror for humanity, and data is the mirror itself. So data is our lived memories in life. Some of them are from the past, some of them are real time, some of them from social media, mission decisions like this compute on our phones and whatever that we are constantly and all the time recording and receiving. I feel like information at the end of the day is a fundamental ethic layer of data sets. And and what I'm so excited about as an artist working with these tools, I really want to understand what exactly inside these models. And this is super important for artists, maybe for many people. But I think I love the idea of like starting with nature as a base layer. And I hope that nature is one of the most important things we have. And nature is also a form of AI that we just didn't have a time to, I guess, truly digest yet. What is interesting is at this for 10 years, we always collaborate with like our partners from LA Philharmonic, NASA GPL, and many others. It's always starts with the data itself, our projects. Like here is 100 years of this, here is 100 years of time covers, here is, the Human Connectome project data, here is that. So to me, as an artist, I start with that conversation and that allows me and my team to be absolutely have a compass for last 10 years and didn't change. Even we work with our Google friends and NVIDIA friends, we always but always follow our compass. And I think artists are the alarm mechanisms of humanity. We sometimes ask questions way before, and I think that's also important to pay attention, not just beautiful aesthetic or shiny pixels, but the context and the discourse behind the works.
Wonderful. You may not be able to see, but you have a grand ballroom of 500 plus MIT community alums, current students. How can this community of engineers and researchers contribute to this artistic frontier?
I mean, first of all, I would love to gift you our living encyclopedia. We're just finishing a new AI system, super fun, super different than any other at the moment. We are mixing, matching many different AI models. I would love to share the system with you and your feedback. It's different AI model, AI system. First of all, you can see exactly how much energy it computes. I think it may be the first AI system deliberately and explicitly shows you how much energy consumption happening. We also work with super closely an incredible biologists and bioscientists and understand their questions and nature of quests about AI. So I believe the encyclopedia concept that will not go anywhere. That's why we call it living encyclopedia. And that's why our AI museum Dataland is the first museum have its own AI model. I would love to share with you and get your feedback, please.
Wonderful. So, as AI generated art enters marketplaces and museums, what do you think changes about authorship and ownership?
So this is a great question, but I want to give an example from 2 years ago. I was very fortunate to work at MoMA in New York, and for an artist, being able to show a work at MoMA is a milestone, a breakthrough moment. So I'm grateful our curators, Paolo Antonelli and Michelle Co, invited to work with their 138,000 every single artwork collected in the 200 years MoMA history. When I create a project called Unsupervised, of course, 2 years ago, it was just the large language models popping up. It was the diffusion models that were just popping up. And it was this incredible time the humanity was aligning with these new systems. And our work was also real time. Every day was changing using a camera, microphone, and a weather data stations. It was just a living painting, basically. And and what was fascinating to me is in unsupervised, being able to experiment beyond just we as humans can categorize. Like here's a painting, here's a sculpture, here's a movie, here's games. I mean, this is wonderful human concepts. But why do we need them if we can go beyond reality and experiment with new forms of ideations that can allow us to find new vocabularies that doesn't exist? So I feel like agency of human machine collaboration in this type of collaborations are still very important. We receive around 3 million people in 1 year. It was the largest audience in 200 years of MoMA history. And most importantly, 38 minutes living experience per person. And lastly, it was the first generative AI work collected by MoMA. So the signal is very exciting for any artist working with AI, not only me, of course. It's just a beautiful, positive message. But I think at the end of the day, the artwork goes back to the archive and it still keep going. It still keep dreaming. So it's a fascinating time to imagine new forms of arts.
Maybe add on to that, between software and hardware, I would imagine the storage, right? It's the
Mhm.
storage issues of bits is going to be a bit different from storage of a traditional oil painting.
Absolutely. And also, I mean, there's multiple views, right? So first of all, how do you collect living painting? I mean, how do you collect something ever changing? What is the technique of preserving AI models? I mean, not Hugging Face, of course. I mean, they are not just like, fundamentally just doing the work. Um, the work happens in the compute, right? Stacks and many others. So it's a fascinating time. I mean, I'm talking with incredible museums like Guggenheim, MoMA, and Pompidou, and we are defining right now. I think we are in the Renaissance, first of all, and it's fascinating to imagine with the pioneers of the museum world and define how to collect AI work. By the way, that's one of the reasons we are opening our AI museum because we found that it's so complex topics for many museums. Then it's so hard to understand and what an AI model means, like what inference means, and how generative algorithms interact in the cloud, and how I mean, just a lot of challenges as you can imagine to solve. But it's exciting, so exciting.
Wow. Well, in closing, maybe you could give us one line. You have often talked about your art is about finding poetry in data. So maybe you could leave us with one line of poetry, or an idea between AI and beauty. And what would it be?
I think my really instant responses is I truly believe that AI means anything and everything, and I believe that's why it has to be for anyone and everyone. And I do believe that AI is an incredible force. If we can join with the beauty, it will create a beautiful force. And I do believe that AI is a chance for us to find the language of humanity.
Thank you so much. Let's give a round of applause to Refik Anadol.
Thank you so much. See you at Dataland in AI Museum in Los Angeles very soon. See you soon.